Yo, what's going on, gang? Today I want to cover graphics settings in Warzone. This is going to be more geared towards PC, but there is going to be a part of this video that everyone can use, console players included. So stick around to that. That's going to be when we talk about FOV. So kind of skim through the video, you'll see the tab for the FOV. But we want to get more frames, we want to get better visibility in Warzone. So here are my graphic settings. I like to run borderless, not exclusive. The only reason I run borderless is because I have a multi-monitor setup. I record, I stream, so it's easier for me to have a borderless setup rather than exclusive. But if you are just playing the game, you have one monitor to work with, I would recommend running exclusive because you will get a little bit of a frame jump with exclusive compared to borderless. But if you are a multi-monitor, borderless is nice, especially if you got other things going on like OBS, Streamlabs, anything like that to kind of help you go. That's kind of when you want to rock borderless. I have aspect ratio on automatic. 99.9% of all of us are going to be on 16:9, but I would just put it on automatic. I wouldn't worry about that. Every so often I do reset shaders pre-loading. This can help with any sort of little bugs you have with frames, and you'll be surprised. It's almost like resetting the cache for your shaders. You can see a frame increase resetting this, so I like to do it every so often. The next big setting we're going to talk about is NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency. So I have it set to on, which means that my computer is GPU bound. What that means is my GPU is stronger than my CPU. If you are on like a super budget PC, you have a very low end graphics card, I highly recommend putting on plus boost. That's going to be more for CPU bound cases. That's where the CPU is actually stronger than the GPU. So if your graphics card is extremely dated, if your computer is, like I said, really low end, it's definitely better to run on plus boost. But if you're rocking a newer PC, you got newer specs, newer cards, some of these bigger cards, 3090 Ti's, 4080s, 4090s, stuff like that, you really want to rock on, not on plus boost. Eco mode preset, I have it on custom. I haven't really messed with anything like that. Custom frame rates unlimited, native on the menu render resolution. I haven't noticed an impact on frames at all, so I just keep that there. Focus mode at the bottom, I keep that at 0. Quality, this is where we're going to kind of get into some juicy stuff right here. So obviously I play a 1440p monitor. It definitely makes the difference. A 1440p compared to 1080 was a massive leap. I didn't think it'd be that big of a leap, but it really was. So I highly recommend, if you are capable to do that and support the frames, definitely play at a 1440p resolution. But if not, 1080 should be sufficient. I use Fidelity FX CAS. So this is sharpening. This makes the game look a little more pretty, a little more sharp, a little more defined. Definitely helps objects, players, stuff like that stand out against different backgrounds a little easier, in my opinion. Now you have a ton of options, obviously DLSS being one of those options. Now, just being very upfront with you guys, when I run a test, I don't have the craziest PC, but I have a nice PC. I run on Fidelity FX CAS, 1440p with my settings. I'm averaging about 145 frames in the benchmark. Now if I put on NVIDIA DLSS, I do show more, I put it to balance and turn on frame generation, I get 275 FPS in my benchmark. And you would think to yourself, well, if you're getting that many frames, why aren't you doing that? Running DLSS and or frame generation will give you more frames, yes, but there is an input latency. It's making these fake frames in between frames to make your game appear smoother, but since it's having to actually generate these frames, it's actually taking away power from your computer. So whenever you have to make an input on the game, there's a delay. Now if we were playing a game that wasn't Call of Duty, let's say we were playing something less intense, maybe Fall Guys, something where it's not literally about response time. Call of Duty is a fast-paced game, and response time is everything. If this was a game like that, we'd run DLSS for a frame boost, but we do not care about that. We care right now about how can we have the best frames and have zero input latency you know, and make targets stand out. So Fidelity FX CAS is going to be the best option for that. In particular, VRAM scale, target scale, this is going to be based on how good your graphics card is. I put it at 80. If you have like a 4090, you could put it up to 90 if you want. I have my 3080 Ti, so I keep it at 80. If you notice like you have bad frame loss, you can actually lower this. You can lower it down. I would recommend by 10. But at 80, I think it's fine. I don't really see like a huge impact difference leaving it there. And then also on my CAS strength, that's at 70 as well. It's not too high, it's not too low, stuff like that. You can also lower this for frame increase and or loss, but at 70, I think it's a pretty solid medium. Texture resolution for me is at normal. I could put this to very low, but I think at normal or even just low, it doesn't necessarily have to be very low. I definitely think it makes the game look a little more aesthetically pleasing, which obviously I want more frames. So if you're on like a super budget computer, like if you're on the worst rig, low, very low, like 100% go low, very low. The texture filter anisotropic doesn't really affect. You can kind of look at that bottom bar as I scroll. It's not really affecting anything. I keep that on high because it's not going to give me a horrible frame decrease. I'm gonna put detail quality low, very low on my particle resolution. Particle resolution absolutely does a massive hit to your card. I think people underestimate that. Bullet impact's on because I like to see where my spray's going, but persistent effects, I keep that off. Shader quality's on low. On-demand texture streaming's on minimal. And then the allocated texture cache size is as low as it can go. I put it 16. Shadow quality I have on low. Very low's like too blocky. Like very low, like everything actually looks like squares, you know? So like I don't like to put it on very low. I just keep it on low. Everything else is going to be off. Static reflection quality is going to be set to low. Tessellation is off. That's another big one that can absolutely impact. Volumetric quality I've set to low, and then everything else below that is going to be on off. Now here's the part that pertains to everybody, man. FOV. I play a 120. If you don't want to rock 120, which I personally believe is a mistake, I feel like everybody should rock 120. You should at least rock 110 and or higher. At 120, you are getting the most bang for your buck. You're getting the least amount of visual recoil with your guns, which in return will help you with your accuracy, helps with player tracking, stuff like that when you're in a match. Putting the ADS field of view to affected keeps your iron sight small. If you put it on independent, let's say like you're zoomed out, so let's say this is our distance, okay, this is 120 FOV, this is the target, this is your sight. When you ADS with independent, it zooms it back in, so the sight's massive on the screen again. When you leave it at affected, when you ADS, it stays here, so it makes that sight really small, and when that sight is small, that's less visual recoil, so this turns into this little bit of shake right here, which is easier to manage than when you see it here, because that creates player panic. So make sure you keep that on affected. Weapon field of view I put on wide. It makes the weapon even smaller, so it actually increases what you can see on screen at once, and less visual recoil. World motion blur, weapon motion blur off. Make sure first person and third person camera movement is on least 50%. We do not want it shaking. And then I personally like inverted flashbang. So when I get flashed, it makes my screen go black instead of white. It saves your eyeballs in the long run. Gang, these are going to be my settings. Try them out and let me know if you get a big frame increase in the comments down below. I absolutely believe you should. If you haven't tried anything like these settings, I think this will make the difference. If you have any questions down below, maybe about your setup, your PC, why you might not be getting frames. I don't know everything about computers, but I know enough to maybe give you some advice. So look, if you're new to the channel, enjoy the content, man, hit the sub button, crush that like button. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another heater. Let's get it, gang.